Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Speak Smart podcast.
Great to be here.
Today, we're diving into something I think pretty much everyone bumps up against at some point in their work life.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Needing more time.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a task, a deadline's looming, and, well, you just need an extension.
Ah, yes. The classic, can I have a bit more time scenario. Definitely relatable.
Exactly. And we're going to look at this specifically through the lens of someone needing to create a press kit.
Okay, a press kit. Good example.
We think this is really relevant for you listening, because no matter what you do, asking for more time professionally, it's a skill, right?
It absolutely is. There's an art to it.
So we're actually using a dialogue from an English learning resource today. It sets up a pretty realistic conversation about this exact thing.
Yeah, it's a good one. It shows someone asking for more time and how that conversation might play out.
Right. So our mission today isn't just about the vocabulary, though we'll cover that. It's really to unpack the communication strategies. What works, what doesn't.
And hopefully give you some practical things you can actually use next time you find yourself in that situation.
Okay, so let's set the scene. What's the setup in this dialogue?
Right. So we have two people, Casey and her boss. Casey's job is to put together this press kit.
And maybe we should quickly clarify what a press kit is for anyone who might not know.
Good idea. Yeah. Basically, it's a package of information a company gives out to the media, to journalists, reporters, that kind of thing.
So it'd have like company background, maybe some bios.
Exactly. Logos, maybe some prepared statements. And crucially for the story, photographs, professional photos.
Okay, got it. So Casey needs to get this press kit ready, photos included.
Yes, but she hits a snag with the photos. She realizes she's not going to make the deadline.
Okay, so she has to go talk to her boss. That's the core interaction we're looking at.
That's it. And that first moment when she brings it up, you immediately sense that little bit of tension, don't you? Because deadlines matter.
They really do. And the boss reacts how you might expect. Initially, at least.
Right. He points out, Casey, you've had over a month for this, which is fair. Puts the pressure back on her straight away.
Yeah, it immediately signals, okay, you need a good reason for this.
But I think Casey starts off pretty well. She says something like, look, I'm not trying to make excuses here.
I just want to get this finished right. Something like that.
Yeah, which I think is a smart opening. It shows she's taking responsibility. She cares about the quality. Even though she's asking for more time, it sets a professional tone.
Definitely. It avoids sounding like she's just trying to get out of it.
And then she gets into the why. And this is where it gets interesting, because she doesn't just say, I need more time. She explains why.
Okay, so what were her reasons? I remember there were a few things that went wrong.
There were. First, she apparently had trouble booking the photographer she needed. That can happen, right? Scheduling conflicts.
Sure, photographers can be busy, especially good ones.
Then, one of her colleagues, Michael, who needed to be in the photos, was apparently out sick for 3 whole weeks.
Oh, wow. 3 weeks. That's significant. You can't really take the photos without a key person there.
Exactly. So that caused a major delay. And then the sort of final blow. The design team somehow lost all the original photo files.
No. Seriously. Lost them all.
Apparently so, meaning they had to redo the pictures.
Okay, that's a series of unfortunate events, as they say. Not just one little thing.
Right. It's quite a stack of problems. And none of them sound like they were directly Casey's fault. Booking issues, colleagues sick, files lost.
That detail is so important, isn't it? When you're asking for an extension, giving those concrete, specific reasons, it makes it much more understandable.
Totally. It helps the boss see the full picture, not just that the deadline is being missed.
But even with those reasons, how does the boss react? Does he just say, oh, okay then?
Well, not quite. He still shows some impatience. He says something like, I'm not putting this off any longer, Casey. I need those photos ASAP.
Right. So even with valid reasons, the pressure is still on. Deadlines are still deadlines.
Precisely. It shows that even legitimate problems don't just make the deadline disappear. There are still business needs, other timelines potentially affected. It's a balancing act.
That realism is useful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's maybe shift gears a bit and talk about some of the key language that comes up here. Starting with the obvious one, deadline.
Yeah, deadline, the big one. It's just, that final date, the last possible moment you have to finish something.
We all know them. Homework deadlines, project deadlines, tax deadlines.
Ugh, don't remind me. But yes, it's that cutoff point.
And when you know you can't hit that cutoff, that's where the next word comes in, extension.
Right, an extension is simply getting that deadline moved, pushing it into the future.
So you ask for an extension because you can't meet the deadline. They go hand in hand.
Exactly. Simple concept, but crucial vocabulary in these situations.
The dialogue also uses the phrase ran into. Casey says they ran into a lot of problems. That sounds very natural, very idiomatic.
It is. It means you encountered problems, you experienced difficulties. And it's much more common and natural than saying, like, I met some problems.
Yeah, met problems sounds a bit strange, doesn't it?
It does. Ran into is the way to go. Like the examples in the source, we ran into a storm, or you might run into problems later, or I ran into trouble with my computer.
So it implies kind of unexpectedly encountering something difficult.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, and the last bit of core vocabulary here was delayed.
Simple one. Just means late, not on schedule.
Like a flight being delayed or a project being delayed. The opposite is on time.
Right. Pretty straightforward, but essential terms when talking about schedules and deadlines.
Now, aside from those single words, the source dialogue also gives us some really useful phrases for actually having the conversation about needing more time.
Yes, some good conversational tools here.
The first one Casey uses, or something similar, is, I've been meaning to talk to you.
Ah, that's a great opener. I've been meaning to. It suggests you haven't just suddenly realized there's a problem. You've been thinking about it, wanting to bring it up.
Yeah, it implies you've wanted to do something for a while, but haven't quite gotten around to it yet. It softens the approach.
Definitely, like the examples. I've been meaning to call you, but I've been busy, or I've been meaning to tell you something. It shows intention.
In this context, it suggests Casey isn't just dropping this on the boss at the last second. She's been aware and planning to discuss it.
Which is generally a good strategy. Proactive communication.
Okay, another phrase that's often vital in these situations. Beyond my control.
Yes. This one is key when explaining why there's a delay. It means you couldn't do anything about it, it wasn't your fault, or within your power to change.
Like the example given of someone else being sick. You can't control that. Or the weather, maybe.
Exactly. The weather is beyond my control. When Casey talks about Michael being sick for 3 weeks, or maybe even the photographer's schedule initially, she's pointing to things that were outside her direct influence.
It's a way of explaining the situation without sounding like you're just making excuses, provided it's true, of course.
Absolutely. Use it honestly. It clarifies that external factors played a role.
And the last phrase we picked out was, put this off.
Right. To put something off just means to postpone it, to delay doing it, leave it for later.
Like putting off doing your homework or putting off answering emails. Procrastinating, basically.
Yeah, exactly. The examples were good.
Yeah.
I've been putting off this project. Can we put off the meeting?
Interestingly, in the dialogue, it's the boss who uses it, isn't it? He says he won't put it off any longer.
That's right. He uses it to emphasize the urgency from his side. No more delays.
So, thinking about Casey's whole situation again, those reasons she gave, do we think they're good reasons? Are they valid?
You know, looking at them, the photographer booking, the sick colleague for 3 weeks, the lost files, it really does seem like she had a run of bad luck, doesn't it?
It does. It feels like a lot of it genuinely was, well, beyond her control. It wasn't like she just didn't bother starting the work.
Right. From her perspective, totally valid. But then you have the boss's reaction.
Yeah, his impatience. Maybe he just hears them as excuses. Is that possible?
It's always possible. Maybe he's under pressure himself. Maybe he thinks she should have had contingency plans. It highlights that perception matters too.
That's true. The boss might be thinking, okay, but we still need this press kit.
Exactly. It brings up that whole idea of excuses versus genuine reasons. It's a fine line sometimes in the workplace.
Speaking of excuses, that makes me think of, the classic school excuse.
Oh, let me guess. My dog ate my homework.
The very one. The ultimate unbelievable excuse.
It's funny how that became the example of a flimsy excuse.
But the source material mentioned something funny here. Someone's cat actually did eat their homework.
Yeah, not a dog, a cat. Apparently, it really happened to one of the people involved with the source dialogue. Shoot it right up.
A cat eating homework. That's unusual. I wonder if the teacher believed it.
Well, the story goes that this person was a good student, so the teacher actually gave them the benefit of the doubt.
Huh. See, sometimes the unbelievable ones are true. Though I imagine most teachers would be skeptical.
Probably wise. The source also mentions some even more creative ones.
Oh, like what?
Like being abducted by aliens, or someone's mom accidentally mailing their homework to Africa.
Okay, now we're definitely in the realm of fantasy. Abducted by aliens, that takes some nerve to try.
Creative writing, Maybe, but it does make the point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's a difference between explaining genuine obstacles, like Casey did, and just making wild excuses.
Absolutely. And that comes back to professionalism.
Mm.
Clear communication, specific reasons, taking responsibility even when things go wrong. That's usually the best approach.
I agree, and maybe trying to give advance warning if you see a problem developing. That I've been meaning to talk to you approach.
Yeah, heading it off early. It gives everyone more time to adjust or find solutions rather than it being a last-minute panic.
Exactly. It allows for a conversation, maybe a bit of problem solving together, rather than just a request for an extension right at the deadline.
So even if the boss is still firm, like in the dialogue, having that earlier detailed conversation builds more understanding, hopefully.
It should do. It shows that you're engaged, you're monitoring the situation, and you're not just letting things slide.
So wrapping this up, for you listening, when you face that inevitable moment of needing more time, think about Casey's approach.
Right. Start professionally, acknowledge the deadline, explain the specific reasons clearly,
Highlighting anything that was genuinely beyond your control, if applicable.
and use clear, respectful language. Phrases like ran into problems beyond my control or signaling with I've been meaning to talk to you can be really effective.
And remember the boss's perspective too. They have pressures and deadlines for a reason. Framing your request with that understanding can also help.
It's all about navigating that conversation effectively to get the time you need, hopefully, while maintaining a good professional relationship.
Definitely a useful skill to cultivate. This is a good deep dive, I think. Lots of practical stuff in that simple scenario.
Yeah, a common situation with some important communication lessons packed inside. Hopefully helpful for thinking about your own experiences.
Thank you for listening to the Speak Smart podcast, and subscribe my channel, like the hit button.